Welcome to The Fight with Teddy Atlas, presented by Dynamic Striking. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at MyBookie. Go to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code ATLAS for 50% credit on your first deposit. Teddy, we're here in the Trinity Boxing Club, Lower Manhattan, to talk about the fight we've been waiting for since I met you. Spence Crawford, finally. It's happening. July 29th. Talk to me. What are you looking for?
As you just said, finally the fight that the fans have been waiting for, that the fighters have been asking for. And what it has to bring to my mind, I love cliches, and they ring true quite often, but be careful what you wish for, because one of these fighters will not get exactly what they bargained for. And we're going to find out now in this squared circle whose wish is going to come true. Is it going to be the wish of the naturally bigger man, Spence, to get an opportunity to run that body, or as I often say, put water in the basement? Or is it going to be the wish of the guy who's moved up 3 weight classes but has brought his power with him, Crawford, to get counterpunching opportunities? I know you're good at granting wishes. All right? So let's go in the squared circle behind us, where wishes do come true.
For some.
For some. And where the truth is always present for everybody.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
All right, Teddy, let's get into this. I've been dying to hear your take. What does the bigger Errol Spence have to do to beat the junkyard dog, Terence Bud Crawford?
First of all, you just touched on it. Obviously, there's nothing better to do, makes more sense when you're the bigger man than to go to the little man's body. You don't need Teddy Atlas, really, to tell you. Well, people much smarter than me, like Ray Arcel and, and Eddie Fudge, who they're not with us anymore, but they would have told you the same thing. Or Angelo Dundee. Great Angelo Dundee, one of the greatest cornermen of all time. Go to the body. But also, this centerpiece, to me, for success for Spence, believe it or not, because everyone thinks of him as just the seek and destroy guy, the bigger guy, the relentless guy, gonna go get him. It's much more than that. This is a guy who was an Olympic fighter, made the Olympic team. He's got that pedigree, that great pedigree, that amateur background, and he's got an educated jab. He beat Mikey Garcia, who's supposed to be the better boxer, smaller man, but he didn't do it just by going after the smaller man. He did it by out-jabbing the smaller man, took away his game, took away Garcia's only hope to be able to fight on the outside and counterpunch. You can't fight on the outside and counterpunch when somebody has a real good jab. It takes away the opportunities, the space that you need, the mistakes that you need them to make to counterpunch effectively. So the centerpiece, the jab, the southpaw jab, Spence's southpaw, the southpaw jab has to really set everything up. And then finally, he's got to have done his homework like we have and know the tendencies of Mr. Crawford. He's a good counterpuncher. He's a good puncher. He carried his power up. And we will right now explore one of those tendencies. You ready?
I'm ready.
Because we're going to give 2 things for each fighter what to look for. And for Spence, the first one, I'll be in the southpaw position of Spence. Now Crawford, he also has to understand, which everybody here understands, Crawford might be the greatest switch hitter since Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle was a hell of a switch hitter, by the way, in baseball. He could hit from either side of the plate with power or average. And Mr. Crawford, he does the same thing. He doesn't miss a beat, lefty or righty. Yeah, he can go either way, as you can. Oh yeah, okay, that's enough showing off. Get into your southpaw. Because he starts orthodox foot, then he kind of finds his way to the southpaw usually for most of the fight. But he will switch when he has to. That's one of the great things of having those kind of options, being that diverse. that he is. So in a southpaw position, when Spence is fighting, he's got to be aware that he loves the counter, and Crawford loves to counter as you come in with the left uppercut. He gets good power with that. His back foot turns into it, and he's a wiry guy. He gets power. So if he comes straight into it, that's going to be waiting for him. He doesn't want that. He wants to get rid of it. So what I think, one of the things that his brain trust will probably have seen the way I've seen it, will look to get it out of the way. Get him to start it a little prematurely by feinting. Just like that. Little feint, and then bang, and then close the gap with the double jab. If you're far enough, if you don't need the double jab, just one jab. And then finish with your own power punch, the left. And we were talking about wishes when we started. Well, that's one wish that just came true. If he does that, you like it?
I love it. All right, that's one way Spence can win. Can score? What's another way? What else can Spence do to get the advantage on the smaller man?
Again, Spence, he's got to understand the tendencies, had to look and film, and I'm sure his brain trust, he's got a good brain trust. So actually does Crawford's people. Yeah. They really do have good trainers, good people. And that's not always, quite frankly and quite sadly, it's not always the case in this business. There's not enough teachers, but they do have the right people to have them ready. That's why this fight should be spectacular. And there's still, the great thing about this fight, it didn't happen like the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight where it was 5 years too late. It's still on time. The train has not left the station yet. And that's good for us.
Yeah.
For you, the fans, for the sport. We already touched on how Crawford loves the counterpunch. And I'll be Crawford for 1 second. You be Spence. One of the things he loves to do is when you come forward, he's in the southpaw stance as I am right now. He'll throw the right hook, but he's so cerebral. He doesn't throw it always just to land. Come at me. He'll throw it, he'll miss, and he'll turn you just to get you off balance. Look at that. Just to get you off balance. And it's hard to get this guy off balance. Very hard. Not easy. He's a marathon runner. He's always on balance. So what he'll look to do, I think, Spence, is be aware of the counter-punching of that right hook when he does actually throw it to the chin. And again, like I said in the first one, get him to prematurely throw it. Get it out of the way where it's safe to come in. And the way he's going to do it this time, last time we did it with a feint, but we're dimensional too. We're going to do it with what I call, and I teach my fighters, a push and pull. A push and pull. Where when you feel I'm coming in with the jab, you're going to throw that right hook. Right from there. Push, and pull back. See what I did?
Yep.
Push and pull. And then bop, bop. Then come back. Push and pull. And then score with a big punch. And you know what that means? Wish number 2 granted. We're getting there. You got a genie bottle?
I'm sure we can find one. All right, Teddy. We talked about what Spence has to do to win. What does the greatest improviser, according to you, the greatest improviser in the sport, what does he have to do to get the advantage on the bigger Spence?
You would be talking about Mr. Crawford, who I believe is one of the greatest improvisers in the sport. You're right. You got that right. And I think he has maybe the greatest instincts of any fighter I've ever seen. And that's a mouthful. I've seen a lot of fighters, if not live in person, on tape. When I was up in Catskill with the great Customato and Jim Jacobs and Bill Caton from Big Fights, Inc., sending us all the reels, back in the day, the reels that you'd have to watch them, that they would get crazy that I wasn't careful with them because there were people like Henry Armstrong on them. And one time I'd messed up a little bit, and part of the reel, the 18 millimeter, I think it is, part of it broke off. Oh my God. Cus said, "Do you understand what you just did?" I said, "I broke off a little piece of tape. That was a piece of Henry Armstrong. That doesn't exist."
I can't even imagine the anxiety.
Anxiety. Beyond. But I learned a lesson.
Yeah.
be respectful of things that you haven't yet learned how to be respectful of, or how much respect is due.
Yep.
That was a big lesson for me. Getting back to this, with Crawford, great instincts, tremendous. He can actually do what only great fighters can do. He can create it as he's doing it. He can come up with new stuff, kind of like Jimi Hendrix with a new string on a guitar that you never heard. That, oh, I never heard that before. Or Louis Armstrong on a horn. All of a sudden, that's a new tune. Just created it in his mind. So Crawford, he, as you said, he can do so many things. Now he's gonna, even though we know that Spence is the naturally bigger, stronger man, make no doubt about it. In this man's estimation, Crawford's still the more explosive puncher. Yeah, there's a big mouthful too. He's the more naturally, because real punches are born, they're not made. And he carried it up in his weight class. I think he's a more explosive puncher when it comes to just pure molecular power.
Yep.
And he's the faster guy. He's got the faster hands. So he's going to want to use those attributes on the outside. But what do we just say? He is very versatile. That's what we're going to touch on right now. Yeah, he's supposed to use it on the outside, and he will. And yeah, Spence will expect a battle on the outside, but what he might not expect is some fireworks and TNT on the inside. Don't be shocked. And we always shock you with this show here a little bit. Or we try to bring you things that could be shocking, or at least could be eye-opening. Don't be shocked if Mr. Crawford sits in a pocket a little bit on the inside. And when he gets on the inside with the southpaw, when Spence is coming at him and wanting to go to that body, which he's going to love to do. He's going to love to go to that body. His eyes are going to open up like a guy seeing a steak, where he's going to, and he hasn't eaten for a week. Oh, he's inside with me? Oh my God, he's giving me just what I want. I can go to the body. I can go eat that steak. But be careful. It might not be as digestible as you think. You might actually get an upset stomach because, again, Crawford, so versatile, has sit in the pocket, and when he goes to throw that right hook to the body, I noticed that he loads up a little bit, Mr. Spence. And when he loads up just a little bit, a little hole like that, bang! A short 6-inch, like Joe Louis with the 6-inch right hand, pop! You didn't even see it. He goes to throw that hook in there, boom! Right inside the pocket, short left hand with power. Another wish granted from the genie bottle. How many more wishes we got?
One more wish.
We got one more. All right, we'll get to the one more. In a second, we will be back.
All right, Teddy. What else can Crawford do to get the edge on Errol Spence?
Well, one of the things that I noticed, looking at all the tendencies, looking at the film, doing, as we say, the homework, is that as technically sound as Spence is, and he is, as I already went over, his and Crawford's people, training team, do a great job of crossing the T's, dotting the I's. But every once in a while, Spence, again, the bigger man, who wants to go to the body, he gets a little heavy on his left hand. You know, he's a southpaw, so that's his backhand. He'll get a little heavy where he might overextend a little bit. And I think that Crawford, who loves to set traps, you know, on the outside, loves, of course, we talked about it, loves to counterpunch, but really good at setting those traps. I mean, he's as good as a spider, bringing a beetle in, baby, you know, and you know what happens when a beetle goes into the spider web. He doesn't come out. And that is what Crawford does. Not to beetles, but to fighters. So I think Crawford will be, again, he can choose either side, the southpaw side or orthodox side. He's, as we said, he's good at either one. But I think what he'll do is he'll realize that maybe he can get the bigger man to behave a little too big. Yeah, behave a little too big. And look for that big punch to the body. Maybe get a little over anxious with it and use the jab, step out and get him to reach in. Just reach in there, Ken.
Yep.
So hit step out, reach in a little bit, right. Counter right there. Do it again. So he'll throw the jab just to set the trap. He'll throw the jab, pump, then, right. That's all. Just to draw it. Or you could do it from the orthodox stance. Because, as I said, he can hit from either side of the plate. So he could do it from here. Maybe he wants to do it from here. Why? Well, right hands do work against southpaws, don't they? Yeah, so his intellect is there. He might look to do that. Again, set the trap. Use the jab, step back, right! Straight right hand. I like that side even better. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. How I wonder who you are. Who's going to get the wish that's going to come true? That's going to leave only one world champion still standing here between the two. How's that? Is that a pretty good rhyme? Can I get out there and start doing some of those?
Edgar Allan Poe or Andrew Dice Clay? Take your pick.
How about 50 Cent? Oh, good?
The best.
I like them.
All right, Teddy, for the guys at MyBookie, by the way, go to mybookie.ag if you're going to bet on the fight. Use the promo code ATLAS for a 50% credit on your first deposit. Let's get into this. I've been dying to hear your thoughts here. The line has moved. It started out roughly as I think minus 125, maybe 135 on Crawford to basically even money on Spence. The line's now moved to minus 175 on Crawford, plus 135 on Spence. Given the line and everything we've discussed, who do you like and why?
I think the lines makers have been peeking in at my notes, listening to our podcast a little bit, being influenced. I'm saying that in jest, of course. They have their own minds. They know what they're doing.
These guys are usually very good.
I think they're very good. I think they're on top of this one. I like Crawford. I mean, I love Spence. I love both people. I do. I love them for the people they are, first. And then I love them for what they are inside the ring. But outside the ring comes first for me. And I appreciate them for that and respect them for that. And I respect them immensely for what they do in here and the level they do it at. But I just think Crawford, I said it already through this piece, where he's got instincts that are just beyond the realm. I haven't seen many fighters that have those kind of instincts. He carried the weight up, the power up in all those weight classes. He's so versatile. He can counter. He can go in the pocket. He can do so many things. And you know what? At the end of the day, he's one other thing that I haven't said yet. He's a junkyard dog.
I was going to say,
he's a junkyard dog.
He's got a mean streak in him.
There was a guy with a great smile that did 7-Up commercials, and not too many fighters get the privilege of doing commercials. There was a guy named, let me try to remember his name, Sugar Ray Leonard. One of my favorites of all time. He had that smile, that $1 million smile, nicest guy, you know, just so gracious in his presence and the way that he talked to you, you know, articulate, everything. Don't get in the ring with him. Don't get in the ring with him. I'd rather be in there with a Doberman or two Dobermans that haven't eaten for a week. Because when push came to shove, that's what Sugar Ray Leonard had. That's what he was. Push comes to shove, that might be the X factor, that variable that maybe at the end of the day is part of what decides this fight, because Mr. Crawford has that. I'm not saying Spence isn't a dog in a good way too, but this guy's a junkyard dog. Yep. And at the end of the day, I'm going with him. What's the under-over? I'm going with him to win.
Over under 10.5 rounds, minus 270 on the over. What do we got? Plus 185 on the under. Obviously, everyone seems like this is an over fight, over 10.5. But that's a lot of wood to lay to go over.
And listen, it probably makes sense that it's going to go the distance. And I get it. I understand it. But with that line, and you can't just bet the bet. You got to bet with some intellect behind it, with some belief that there's a reason to bet. I'm going to take the line. I'm going to take some money on the under, not just because the money's there, partly because it's there, but because I believe that Crawford has the ability to hurt Spence before the night's over.
Yeah.
Maybe with an inside punch, as we illustrated earlier, or maybe, you know, with an uppercut. He throws a pretty damn good uppercut, too. Catching him coming in, catching Spence coming in. whatever. I think he does have a chance, and being that I think he has a chance to hurt him before the night's over, I will take a little, just a small, friendly play. Only bet with what you can afford, please. You should understand that. Not something that could hurt you or your family, but I'll take a little friendly bet on the under to go along with the overall side, which is for Crawford to win with a little bonus money, if you will, if I can maybe catch it with the under.
What do you think of the Crawford and the under parlay?
I'll do it.
I like that.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Dude, I knew you were here for a reason. I mean, an extra reason. Thank you.
Guys, mybookie.ag, use the promo code ATLAS. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back after the fight to break it all down and see if Teddy got it right or we got it right. We're on the same side here.
And in the meanwhile, he'll be running.
For sure. Always running. Never stop running.
Marathon.
Good luck, everyone. Enjoy the fight. We'll be back with you right after the fight for a full and thorough breakdown.